Once again, welcome to Movie Recaps. I'll be showing you the 2019 drama, mystery, and fantasy movie Super Me today. Beware of spoilers. Take care and be cautious. Sang Yu is a poor, lonely screenwriter who has lost both of his parents and has no employment or friends. But his biggest issue is that he hasn't been able to sleep for more than 6 months because, every time he does, a demon arrives and turns his dreams into terrifying nightmares. In his dream this evening, Sang Yu is in the subway when the demon appears and seizes him by the hair, punches a hole in the floor, and then drives his head through it, murdering the victim. He intended to write when he woke up immediately following the passing of his dream self, but his landlord claims to have given him food when he knocks on his door, but Sang Yu escapes through the. He cannot pay the rent, so he is looking through a window. He recalls all the specialists he has spoken with about them while he strolls around the streets. Psychologists, physicians, scientists, religious adherents, and others have nightmares on the meaning and function of dreams. They all had their own opinions, but there was nothing substantial that may be of any use to him. He comes to a food vendor and requests a crepe without eggs because that is all he can afford. However, the crepe vendor offers a complimentary egg anyway. He observes the cafe across the street as he waits for his food to finish. He has a crush on Hua, who works. When he and several pals were hanging out at a bar years ago, she was there, a member of her band. He has been thinking about her ever since because of the beauty of her singing voice. Sang Yu sits down to savor his crepe once it's cooked, but he's abruptly startled by his boss, Senji. Sang Yu begins to flee and drops his crepe along the road, but he is too frail to continue. Sanj eventually catches him if he goes too far. He takes him to a restaurant and forces him to watch him eat while reprimanding him for not honoring his contract and failing to provide a script on time. Sang Yu tries to justify why he can't focus and write because of his insomnia, but Sanji refuses to take any advice and insists that the script be finished in 10 days. After that, Sang Yu returns to his flat to discover it locked with all of his belongings inside the hallway. He has finally been evicted by his landlord. He went to a cafe to see if he could write there, but he was too ravenous to do it. He tries to think, but eventually nods off. The demon suddenly comes behind him, wraps Sang Yu in chains, and begins banging his chin on the desk. When Sang Yu wakes up the following morning, immediately following the passing of his dream persona, he finds his laptop was taken, having misplaced his work equipment and beginning to believe that he cannot distinguish between nightmares. Sanj receives a message from Sang Yu, informing him that he will commit suicide and reunite with his parents. He decides to monitor her from the roof of the building across from Hua Cafe. To leap off the edge, but the crepe vendor stops him and offers him some free food. As Sang Yu eats, the man joins him on the roof and speaks to him about the differences between people, ideas on dying and dreams, and comes to the straightforward conclusion that, when Sang Yu experiences these nightmares, he should tell himself, "I'm dreaming," in order to wake up from them more quickly. Sang Yu watches Hua from the roof until dusk, at which point he buys his cell call to get some cash to purchase food. He visits a convenience store, where he contemplates robbing some items but decides against it. When he realizes someone is watching him, Sang Yu is astonished to be suddenly outside the store, eating the food he has just purchased. Hua approaches him and expresses worry for him. Sang Yu realizes right away that this is unreal. In reality, Hua is a demon, begins shoving him against the glass, which appears to the store employee to be Sang Yu having a panic episode of some type. Sang Yu is picked up by the demon, who stabs him with his sword before tossing him through the. Sang Yu recalls and reminds himself of the crepe man's words while holding onto the blade, that he is dreaming, allowing him to awaken just as he is being thrown. While he is not stabbed, he is flying through the broken glass in real life. He unexplainably discovers the demon's blade in his possession. Before the ambulance the clerk requested arrives, he flees and stays at the park. He spent the entire night looking at the sword to make sure he wasn't dreaming again. He goes to the flea market in the morning to sell it, and all the eager customers to purchase helps him understand he is in possession of something priceless. Instead, he chooses to visit a pawn shop, where he is given the real value of the sword. 2000. Sang Yu doesn't waste any time and gets to work. He buys a new computer and enjoys fine dining. She sleeps in a posh hotel and eats at a restaurant. He takes some sleeping pills as it becomes dark and waits for his typical dream to start. He exits his room to investigate the corridor because this dream is also happening in the hotel, and saying, "I'm dreaming," while clutching a vase. But nothing takes place. He decides to continue his exploration, and the demon then materializes and pursues him with an enormous gold axe. He receives quite a few wounds as the demon whips him about and strikes him with his sword. Sang Yu manages to grab the axe and declare, "I'm dreaming," but only after taking a few blows. He awakens once more with the weapon in his hands and no obvious wounds. The same pawn shop is used to sell the axe, and the proceeds are used again right away. Sang Yu receives new clothing and a car and spends the evening drinking at a bar with various women, but he refuses to let them in with him when he returns to his hotel room. Before retiring to bed, he merely hands them money for a taxi. He is attempting a new technique tonight by examining images of a significant museum in a book. before going to bed. Try this trick. It works since the dream occurs in the same way. A place he recognized from the pictures. Before sitting down to wait for the demon to appear, Sang-yu surveys the area and takes in all the antiques. Sang-yu starts to flee when the object of his attention this time comes bearing a gun, which is against his intention. Despite running from the shots and dodging them, the demon eventually catches up with him and kills him. Sang-yu awakens in his hotel room, but he can't get anything because he wasn't able to grab anything. Consumes a sleeping medication since he doesn't want to leave the task incomplete. He starts sprinting once more in the dream and, after avoiding a few bullets he leaps exceptionally high, grabbing 2 antiques before exclaiming, "I'm dreaming," and awakening. This time, Sang-yu delivers the riches to established antique merchants that do business. Wealthy collectors. He receives $2 million for them and some inquiries about his strategies. But happily, he prevails. Must avoid each of them. Senji approaches him as he exits the store in a furious manner because she mistook him for someone else. Dead, Sang-yu invites him to a fine dining establishment and returns the funds he had given him for the script, letting him know that he no longer writes. He finally makes it into Hua Cafes the following day, when he orders a cappuccino before asking her if she should know who he is, but she doesn't. He further inquires as to why she is selling the cafe, to which she replies that she has no customers. Moreover, the store just makes dead. Later that evening, while eating supper with Sanji, who is curious about his formula for success, after putting Sang-yu to sleep in his hotel room, Sanji pretends to be Sang-ji as they leave to depart and then return to examine Sang-wallet and his checkbook. Sang-yu awakens with gold chains in his hands, which startles him out of his stupor. He confesses the truth to his friend and begs him to let him assist him in his new venture, something Sang-yu muses over for some time. Sang-yu purchases Hua Cafes the following day and informs her that he still wants her to operate it. He will be responsible for covering the losses while they split the profits. She extends an invitation to him to supper as a token of her gratitude, where they discuss their newfound mutual business, and Hua expresses her misgivings that Sang-yu wants more from this contract than is reasonable. Just cash. After that, Sang-yu routinely embarks on dream excursions as Sanji guards his sleeping body. One of his visions involves him stealing a bank to demonstrate how much power he has. He's starting to battle the demon again and is gaining control over his abilities, moving his mind about. Additionally, he starts bringing back bigger items, like a red automobile. Later, Hua Cafe is packed with patrons as a result of Sang-yu sending Sanji to paying people to come from the streets. He also handed the crepe vendor a bag of cash as a token of appreciation for the times they had together. He'd give me a free supper. Once the store shuts, Sang-yu and Hua go for a walk, and Hua makes assumptions based on just he is a scriptwriter, to put it briefly. Sang-yu starts to accompany her on daily walks home following work, and one night he gives her the keys. He tells her it's for her, the red automobile from his dream. She assumes he is a well-known scriptwriter based on his good fortune. Sang-yu thinks back to the day he first met her, following her performance as she drives into the night. He followed her to the movies after seeing her in tears following a confrontation with her ex. Numerous times, Hua agrees when Sang-yu plans to take her to the movies in the present, but she also wonders when they will be able to watch the movie he wrote. Sang-yu writes a script for real and offers it to Sanji because he doesn't want to be discovered in his lie. To read in his sleep, because Hua is continuously on his mind. He has fantasies about having numerous replicas in his bed. He swiftly wakes up after forcing himself to do so in order to discover Sanji sobbing at how the script is good. They then start their strategy by offering their own film firm money in exchange for buying the script, having enough cash to employ the top stars and achieve great success. Even a special banquet is organized in his honor, and he adopts Hua as his. One more, even a special presentation about his career, which is obviously fictional, asserting that despite writing blockbuster movies, he never claimed credit for them. Desire to travel and experience the world. A few days later, Sang-yu discovers something quite odd in a dream. There's the body of a monk who is engaged in meditation. As he tries to grab his belt, his hand falls off. Yet he doesn't give up, so after getting his hand back, he tries again. The man moves to touch the monk's chest with 2 smoking pipes as he takes off the belt fingers, but Sang-yu doesn't appear really concerned. The typical demon is absent, and both the riches and the monk vanish. Sang-yu brings Hua to the roof one night, when he nearly kills himself and shows her he has planned a magnificent fireworks display for her. As she questions whether he'll ever leave in the same abrupt manner that he arrived, he makes a vow he won't ever permit her. They then proceed to her residence, where Sang-yu rests while she uses the restroom, tries out a potential confession. However, he is forced to depart since something strikes him unexpectedly. He pats himself on the chest and notices 2 burning black lines when he looks in the mirror on his body. When he arrives at his residence, he disregards the celebration Sanji is hosting with a numbera, goes straight to bed after a woman. Sanji prepares to gather tonight's wealth, but Sang-yu advises him not to. He is sleeping alone this time. In the dream, he sees himself in a tall, deserted structure where a shadowy figure is standing and waiting. Toward the balcony, as Sang Yu approaches, he realizes it is a decaying version of his elder self. He awakens to find more scars visible and a fresh scar on his shoulder. Throughout the course of several hours, each of them matching a location where the demon had wounded him in prior dreams, he visits the crepe vendor the following morning to ask for any additional advice. Nevertheless, a van pulls up next to him as he approaches his destination and kidnaps him. He is at an abandoned location when they finally take the bag from his head, which Sang Yu notices. Building that is encircled by a group of outlaws led by Kang Ji. Sang Yu offers to pay anything they like, and after they settle on 10 million, he does so. Sang Ji calls and requests that he deliver the funds. Nevertheless, when he comes, Kang Menji's men remove the cash and Sang Ji, whom Kang Ji had ordered to be taken, utilizes to bargain. Sang Yu is forced to bring the entire group back to his flat together. With a groggy Sanj, he shows them his secret room filled with all of his antiques. Someone interrupts Kang Ji as she tries to get him to reveal how he acquired all of these uncommon artifacts. Arrives at the structure to greet him, Huer. Sang Yu ditches her there when the receptionist announces her arrival over the intercom, to get her to go away so she may be safe. As the receptionist notices how unhappy she becomes, she is informed that Sang door use is still open, for some reason, but nevertheless permits her to ascend. One of the guys grabs her as soon as she exits the elevator and takes her to the same location where Sang Yu is being held. In an effort to make her feel uncomfortable, Kang Ji begins to tease her by pointing out that Sang Yu, another of his guys, who believed they had been lying, expresses displeasure at the revelation that they would merely arrive to steal some cash. Kang Ji puts on some golden knuckles and punishes the man for his transgression. Sang Ji is quietly waking up at the same time. Huer is the next to receive a kick from Kyan Ji when she turns to her, and that is the opportunity that Sang Ji uses as an excuse to dive in and beat the man holding her down with a vase. Sang Yu manages to escape the assailant holding him by biting him, but not before being stabbed. First, while Kang Ji shoots the man he beat up, the three of them flee, but it's difficult to go far when Sang Yu's wounds make it difficult for him to even walk. On the stairs, the men catch up to them, and one of them manages to stab Sang Yu once again. Sang Ji, however, gives up his own life by staying behind to divert the goons, while Sang Yu and Huer got away. Sang Ji is defeated because only one untrained guy can defeat two trained men. Until death, Sang Yu and Huer are taken hostage upstairs by one of the goons, who beats them and throws them out. Not even caring that Sang Yu stabs his back with a dagger, he follows them around. The two of them fall asleep, and Sang Yu wakes up among some weird ruins, enveloped in fog. When he moves, the dark stuff immediately disappears. He scans the area and touches a glowing doorway, which causes him to start getting flashbacks of his recent life, including both his real life and his dreams, and even a rendition of he was the one that the ambulance picked up that evening outside the convenience shop. After that, he moves to a location with a massive crystal wall and begins striking it. He kept saying, "I'm dreaming," until he loses too much blood and collapses. Sang Yu finds himself turning into the demon all of a sudden as his body begins to change. He imagines a machete appearing in his hand and begins striking the crystal wall, posing as the demon in a number of already occurring talks while adding a twist. In these imagined versions, he strikes his landlord rather than simply listening, and Sang Ji for not treating him more kindly. The monster emerges in Sang Yu's room when the wall eventually cracks, where Sang Yu's the body is also waking up. Without hesitation, the demon dispatches all of the thugs, even producing a bizarre firearm when necessary. He then pursues Sang Yu and is about to kill him as well when he murmurs, "I'm dreaming." Moreover, everything in his abode, including the treasures he retrieved from dreams, starts to disappear. And in the collections of the wealthy, Sang Yu passes out once more, and when he awakens, he is completely lost. Returning to the evening in front of the convenience shop, as Huer discovers him, she recognizes him from the concert and is moved by her compassion for him. He went to her house to give her some nutritious food. She informs him that she has read one of his stories in a magazine as he is enjoying some noodle soup, and believes it was excellent. He just needs a little bit of luck to succeed. He breaks down when she offers him a job at her cafe to work until then, when it is revealed that Huer has known he is a vampire all this time and begins to cry. Observing her, later, as they are working at the cafe, Huer presents Sang Yu with a brand new item. He bought a new laptop to write on. After that, Sang Yu meets Sang Ji at a restaurant to return the money to him because he only wants to write what he wants to write. He is unable to produce a script on demand. Sang Ji not only declines the money but also gives him extra in return because he's been successful in one of Sang earlier used scripts for sale. Sang Yu will pay their bill so they can rejoice. Many days later, happy with his life at this point, Sang Yu visits the crepe vendor to place an order. The man sees an opportunity to return the man's money and displays a scar in exchange for some meals. Because he had the same power and had learned this humble technique, he was lying on his stomach. It is better to live. The ruins from his previous dream materialize behind Sang Yu as he hears his tale, and it has been revealed that the new demon that killed the gangsters has been pursuing him since he reappeared. at the gas station. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget like, share and subscribe.